All right, so thank you everyone today for joining our presentation on our career development modules that have been revamped. My name is Caitlin Anderson, and I am the Career Readiness Program Designer for the Center for Career Development at the Storrs campus. So before we can begin, just a couple of housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. The recording is going to be made available to you as well as those that weren't able to make it today. It will be posted on our career website and we will be able to provide the link for you for future use. Secondly, feel free to ask any questions at any point in the time. You can use the chat feature. You are more than welcome to unmute yourself. Obviously, we seem to be a small group as of the moment. And I am the only presenter, so also monitoring the chat at the same time sometimes could be a little bit daunting. So again, feel free to unmute yourself as you feel necessary. So what I'm going to do today is kind of be your tour guide for these modules, see how to use them, see what they have to offer. And they are all housed under our HuskyCT platform for Blackboard. So I believe all of us should have access to that, but you don't have access right now to the career development modules. So quick overview, what we're going to look at is just the purpose and overview of what these modules have to offer. I'm going to actually go into my HuskyCT page and show you from a student's perspective what the modules have to offer. I am going to go over the improvements of what was old versus what is now new to them. I'm also going to cover how to actually utilize them. I mean, because that's what we're wanting them to do, is actually be a good resource that we could either implement in the classroom, implement in advising sessions, or even just for ourselves to be able to train ourselves on, I mean, maybe for some of you, when was the last time that you updated a resume? So it's kind of looking at those aspects of utilization. And then this is a half-an-hour session, so if we have time for a Q&A that wasn't able to be asked during the presentation, hopefully we'll have time to do a Q&A at the end. All right, so our purpose. The first one is just to promote seamless integration of career readiness in the classroom and advising. So when we look at career readiness, we're looking at students that are at the university for the basically end goal of getting a job. So we want to make sure that we are hitting on these career readiness aspects as much as we can during their lifespan at UConn. So when you use these modules, you can use them as you want. So they're for your consumption, they're for your students' consumption. And again, perhaps it's been many years or maybe ever that you had to write a cover letter, or that you're not as familiar with the LinkedIn platform that is has really come to surface in the last couple of years as a digital way to promote career readiness. The second one is to create that opportunity for you as staff and faculty to customize career content to the course of which you are instructing or that your student is enrolled in. Or it could also be geared towards a specific UConn community without having to start from scratch. So it really gives you that base foundation to work with and personalize it to your students or to your course and curriculum. And the last one is to provide equitable access to career content for all students who might not normally have access to it. Whether some students don't have the support system to talk about career with, or they haven't had access to career advice in the past prior to coming to the university. Here's the overview of what the modules have to offer. So it's a lot right now. So right now we have 5 core modules, and they all have to do with job preparedness. So your resume, your cover letter, interviews, and also informational interviews, and then networking. This one over here is in progress, hence the hammer and wrench icon. So under construction. So once we start to develop those ones out, we will obviously send out an email letting you know that those are available for your perusal and for your use. So it's totally up to you what topics you want. So this is kind of like an a la carte. If you're working with students that are in their graduation year, they might not have to do a resume or cover letter. We might be more practicing on their interview etiquette. If you're in a communications class, networking and job search, how do you actually market yourself out in the real world? So again, these are a la carte. They are student-centered, so they are meant to be in the hands of students, but not to say that faculty can't use them to train themselves as well. All right, so now I'm going to be your tour guide along the way. So again, if you have any questions during this process, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have. So the Blackboard website is learn.uconn.edu. So when you go, you log in with your NetID and your password. It might ask you to do the 2-factor authentication. Let's see what it's going to make me. Yes, because I went in incognito. So like I said, we are really doing this as a tour. All right. So if you wish to have these added to your HuskyCT page, when I go in and I add them for you, it will fall under courses. And this is the way that mine looks right now. It might not be the way that yours look. You might have a lot more courses on your HuskyCT platform. So it's called the Career Development Module. So when I click on that, you might also have it in this view as well, where it's more of a list. I prefer the kind of prettier picture view. So if I go in there, and here are where our modules are. Now, I am the instructional designer for this course, so these ones you would not see. You would only see these top ones above this bar here. So again, we have our home page, which is what you currently see over here. We have our resume, our cover letter, informational interview, and LinkedIn, as I showed you on that kind of that web design that I had going on there. And right now we are also revamping our kickoff resume assignment as well, which is used during our FYE courses. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter student mode because this is the way that you would see it, and just kind of show you one of the layouts of these modules. Again, each one of these modules is offered separately from the others, so you can really pick and choose which ones you want access to or which ones you want embedded into your own courses. All right, and I'll go over those 2 options afterwards. So let's head on into our resume module. And what you can see is you have these file folders here. Before we get to those file folders, it's important to kind of read through up here because here's really the educational background that I come from. I have a master's in curriculum and instruction. So I've spent a lot of time looking at the overarching goals of each one of these modules. So, and that's usually found in this last line. So the goal of this module is for students to be able to design a resume for a designated purchase, whether that's an internship, a co-op, a volunteer experience, and or a job when they graduate. Then found under the goal is the learning objectives. So there are 3 in this category, and each one of these 3 will be found under each one of the topics. The other thing that we are currently working on is aligning all of our content with the career competencies set by NACE. NACE is the National Association for Colleges and Employers, and they're the kind of the 8 transferable skills that we're looking for students to develop during their time at UConn. So within this module specifically, if you complete all of these topics, you will have enhanced your critical thinking, communication, technology, professionalism, and career and development competencies. If you do click on each one of these, it will bring you to the actual NACE definition and sample behaviors. So that way you can also look to see within your own classrooms or advising sessions, what am I looking for the students to do to be able to show progress within each one of these competencies. So it's nice that we have them linked there so we, 1, don't have to memorize them, and 2, can refresh our brains about what does that actually look like within the context of our courses. So I'm going to go ahead and click on topic, what is a resume? Now, this is a very broad overview, so you have to think about your audience. Do your students need this? If they don't need to know what a resume is, perhaps you can go down to the ones that, this is the one that students actually struggle with the most, and what we see a lot in our center is creating those bullet point statements. So it really is suited to fit your audience and what they need. You can also offer it all, so that way students that aren't at the same level as the majority of your students do have access to that career content. So the learning objective being hit within this topic here is the students will be able to identify the function of a resume, which is the same thing as this one up here. Okay, so they are very similar to each other. This one just doesn't have the major and components that's going to be found in one that comes later on, which is that resume content and formatting. It also does give an estimated time of completion for this topic. So this one is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes. And that is on the longer side. So we do anticipate students be able to finish maybe in 5 to 10 minutes, but we have given that extra time component as well. So it does list out the activities required within this topic. So they're going to read the required readings, which are found right here, and then complete the required quiz, which is down here. So we have 3 readings for them to go through. And once they do that, they can click marked as reviewed. Now that helps the instructor or staff utilizing this page to see how far students have come, but it also holds students accountable as well, because if they click marked as reviewed, therefore they should have read those readings. The quizzes are found within Qualtrics, and they're very basic, multiple choice, check all that apply, fill in the blank type quizzes, just to say that the student is ready to go on to the next topic if you deem it necessary. Within most topics, I would say about 90% of the topics, there also is a supplemental folder as well. So say, for instance, there's 2 instructors that have this embedded into their, first year classes that they have students doing. So there might be a couple that have already done this assignment. There is that supplemental to kind of push the boundary a little bit more and give some alternative assignments that still go along with the learning objectives. Any questions so far now that we've kind of dived into one of our topics here? No? Okay. Just checking the chat, making sure there's nothing in there. So each one of the modules is laid out very similar to this resume module. So again, you have your introduction, your overarching goal is going to be found in this last line of the introduction. You have your learning objectives that are going to be split up amongst the topics. And what's really great, especially in this resume one, are these sample resumes. We have sample resumes from each school or college found within the university. So you can go through and actually show your students, let's say that we are in the School of Engineering. Here is a strong resume for the engineering department, and here is a weak resume. So you can pull the information that you want, whether you download it and post it to your own course, or you have me embed the entire module or entire topics into whichever courses you would like. All right. So I'm going to end the virtual tour component of HuskyCT and kind of go back to how we would utilize these within our classroom. So being that the objectives are aligning with the assessment, it's a clear pathway of why we would utilize these. So what I see being utilized with the modules within courses, I know as instructors and advisors, we have specific content that we need to cover. So this could be one of those scenarios that it's a supplement to an activity. It can be done within the classroom. It can be done outside of the classroom. And it also allows for personalization to happen from there because these are so a la carte. So these small bites of information allow us to really differentiate our instruction to those audiences that we have in mind. Each one of them also has a variety of learning styles. So as you saw on the demo one that I just showed you, it had some articles and then it had a quiz. Now that one kind of seems a little, just blasé in terms of it just has a reading component to it. But we have podcasts, we have YouTube videos embedded in there. We have some interactive sites as well that students would be allowed to use. And then with each one of our career competencies having those alignments within the units, we're also developing those skills along the way. I've also made sure that each one of these is accessible to students. So they do have headings if they're going to be utilizing a screen reader. Every image does have a description that goes along with it. There's subsequent links that are found within the line. So it's not just a URL that's listed, it's actually embedded within the wording of the, whether it's introduction or a description. And then each video comes with a description as well, kind of a summary of what the video is going to show. I believe all of them also have closed captioning available, accessibility as well, because we've either done them through Kaltura or through YouTube. So those are nice sections that we have in terms of improvements from the old, if you are familiar with any of our old modules that we've had. Excuse me. So things that I see these being utilized for. So let's say that you do a very big assignment within your class, or you have a breakthrough during your advising session with your students. Utilizing even just that resume one of, let's make a bullet point for your resume based off of the assignment that you just completed, because you showed tremendous growth in your leadership skills. So you could say, led a team of peers through the development of a, XYZ, insert it for whatever content area you have. And then you can quantify it based off of, whether it was the grade that you got on it, the project emphasis that it created, or how many people were in your audience if you were doing a presentation. So it's a nice way to start to build their resume while they're working on assignments. Excuse me. All right, and then the last thing that I really wanted to talk about is how to get access to these. So we have two different options available to faculty and staff. Option one is a view-only access. So you're granted student access. So what I just showed you, that student view, is what you would see in this view-only access. And it would be to our career development course. The viewing of the course familiarizes yourself with the resources that we have available. There are some things that you can download, or you can favorite some of the websites and utilize them within your own courses. That's a lot of building on your own. And the point of these is not to have to do it yourself, but be able to use this content that we already have and embed it over. The other thing is that it's faculty facing if you go with the view only access. So if you're wanting to train yourself on it, then that's fine, but it's non-customizable because you only have student access to our end. Option two allows you to select certain modules. So remember, we have 5. You can select any of those modules to be directly embedded into any course of your choosing that you have access to. Now, I did have one faculty member say, oh, well, if I give you instructor access, I can't remove you. There is a loophole to that. So that is not totally true. What you do is you actually just change my user access down to student, and then you can delete me out. So don't feel like because you would have instructor access that it would be forever. As soon as you see that the modules have been embedded into your course, you can remove me as an instructor. The way that we've designed those modules are student ready, so they can consume it right away. If you're starting off your spring semester next week, they're ready to go. If you wanted to personalize it, you do have that option now that it is really yours at that point in time because it's been embedded into your course. So you could delete certain components, you could hide certain components until you're ready to use it. I've also had faculty say this is a great way in case you're going to be out of class. So instead of having to cancel class, you could say, hey, go on and complete this assignment found within our course. And all you have to do is, especially if you're, debating on whether to cancel class or not, you're probably not feeling the greatest or have a family member that's not feeling the greatest. All you have to do is just show the link and it is ready for the students to access. So you have 2 of those options. I will give you the link if you are debating one way versus the other. You can always start with option 1 and then resubmit our request form to kind of upgrade, if you would, to option 2. But those are the 2 that we have access to as of right now. And you're really our gateway to get these out to the students. So here are the links that I did talk about. I will put the actual link for this module request form. I have it as a QR code right now, but unless you're logged in, you might not be able to use it from like a mobile device. but also I have put together a module guided tour as well. I see your hand up, Elizabeth. I'll be right with you. Which is basically just what I went over on the HuskyCT end of things. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just wondering if you could advise, so I mentor and supervise students, but I don't teach courses. And so what would be a good way to use this so that I can give my students access to it and we can use it as they're working on research projects, but maybe not affiliated with a specific class?
That's okay, not affiliated with a specific class. So I think the best way as of right now, we are trying to circumvent that a little bit, just because of the situation that you're in. We want this to be in front of as many students as possible and not have to take specific courses where those instructors have it embedded. So as of right now, I think the best way would be to,
and you don't necessarily have to answer me now. It's just something I have been bringing up at these sessions about how staff can use them effectively when you work with students.
That's a good point. Let me take that one down and let me get back to you. There's definitely got to be a way for you. So you would have access to our course, even though you don't have your own course, you could still go in through our course with that view only access and show students it. Students can also be self-enrolled in the course. It's not, a public way, but they can take the same link that I'm about to share with you and enroll themselves in the course. So I think that would probably be the best way as of right now. So that link that I just put in the chat is this first QR code where you have the option for that option 1 view only access or the option 2 embed it into a course. So for you, Elizabeth, I would go with that, either the view only, so that way you could bring up in an advising session, or if you're mentoring with a student saying, hey, this is an option you have available. And also here is the link if you wanted to self-enroll your own self into the course. So I think either of those two might be the best way as of this moment, but we're working on some other avenues. Any other questions? All right, and again, this module guided tour is the HuskyCT side of things, like I just went through with you, kind of showcasing the resume and what each one of the learning objectives is linked to. It is more faculty facing than if you were to do that module guided tour with a student, but it also does show them how each one of them does have an outcome attached to it. So we do have about 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions about how to utilize them or how to access them? You're welcome, Jody. All right, so my definite recommendation would be to click on that link that I did send in the chat if you are interested in accessing these modules in either of those 2 ways. I mean, if it does come down to it, you can delete out what you don't need, or you can just archive it and not show that link and save it for a rainy day, because you never know when a student might approach you even after you utilizing your services, whether you're an instructor or a staff member, and you can point them in the direction of our career development modules. I really appreciate the time everybody's taken today to meet with me and take a look at our new modules. Feel free to hang on if you have any questions that you wanted to ask, or feel free to email me. My contact information is found right here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.